everyone, it's Hairyfrankfurt, and the story that I'm about to tell you is literally just me ranting about the banks, and there's probably no moral to the story except that the banks suck. But I still think you should subscribe, because maybe the next story will have a moral, or maybe it won't. Maybe you don't like those. I don't know. Subscribe. This is, okay, I have a few stories about banks in general. The Commonwealth Bank, I need to dedicate that video to itself, because there are so many things that Commonwealth Bank have done wrong, and I'm probably going to keep this video nice and short. I don't like banks as it is, especially big four banks. Like, I've always had this like dislike for big four banks. I joined Suncorp when I finished high school, and I liked it because it was independent, even though it was probably more expensive, but I wasn't ever using the services that had any cost associated. But then I think last year or 2 years ago, they got purchased by a bigger bank, and I didn't really, I knew that at that point I wanted to move and I wanted to no longer support them, because I don't want to support big four banks. It's just not a thing that I want to do. But I didn't really have any reason to, right? Like, I could see that they were trying to be more competitive, which is a big four bank thing to do. I could see that not much had changed in terms of the way that I was banking with them, but bits and pieces were getting a little different. It was never enough for me to be like, oh, I'm out, peace. So I kind of just put up with it. And then the whole thing with the scam situation took place, and a friend suggested, hey, go to your bank. They might be able to do a clawback request, because obviously banks don't want their customers getting scammed, right? Whether that's a refund scam, or a someone logged in and stole your money scam, or if that's a romance scam, which is probably what mine would fall under. They don't really want their customers having their money stolen from them, because it is their money too. And so I thought that's a great idea. I went into the bank and they said, oh shit, let's take this seriously. I went in and I provided all the information to one of their expert consultant people, whatever, and he seemed fantastic. He was really lovely. He was like, look, this sounds like money laundering, so let me go through the anti-money laundering team. He wasn't entirely sure how it was gonna go, but he said, look, I've got all your contact information. This is gonna take several months, and just wait, I'm working on it regardless, right? I was like, fantastic. So then I waited like 6 months, and Christmas rolled around and Christmas passed, and then I was like, actually, I'm gonna go check in on this. So I went into the bank, the same bank again, and they said, oh, that's weird. He doesn't even work here anymore, and no one knows anything about this. There's no note on your profile. We're gonna have to start the process again. I was like, awesome, great, cool. So I sat down at a table. I didn't go into an office this time. I just sat down at a table in public, like in the waiting area almost, and I explained the situation, provided all the details, and then like really made it super obvious that I wanted this guy to tell me whether it was working or not. He goes, cool, I'll put it forward. And I was like, can you send me an email? Anyways, just that I've got that like in writing, because I want to be able to like contact you and be like, hey, what's the process? What's the progress? How far are we getting? So that we have that dialogue and we've got it in writing, because at this point I was like, look, I can't believe that the last thing just disappeared completely. But this guy assured me, he was like, yeah, I'm gonna contact you now and just explain, just that you've got it in writing. And then I didn't hear anything. So then I went back a week later. I was like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, there's no record. There's no record of you being here. We haven't got anything. I was like, I've done this twice now. And they're like, cool, let's book in an appointment. So I booked in an appointment for the next day, and I went to the bank. And every time that they asked me, because like people kept coming up to me being like, are you okay? What's going on? And I explained, and they're like, oh. And I was like, you know, it's one thing to get your money stolen from you by some criminal activity, obviously. It is another to have the bank promise they'll help you, and then every time they do that, they forget that you exist, and they don't make a record of them helping you, and they don't make a record of your complaint. It's such a big four bank thing to do, right? Like, it's such a big four bank thing to do, to be like, we're gonna help you and then forget completely. We're gonna help you, we're not gonna make any effort to actually help you. So then I spoke to 3 people that day being like, here's the situation. They're like, have you put in a report? I'm like, that's what I'm trying to do. You guys keep forgetting about me. Anyway, so I finally sit down with this woman, and she had broken English. She was of some Oriental descent. She was Asian, maybe Chinese, I don't know. That's not important. The point is that she was English second language. And I tried to explain to her, I was like, look, this guy was taking money from me and then giving cash, and like he was using me as an ATM, weirdly. The first consultant said that it sounded like anti-money laundering team needed to deal with it, and then the second guy didn't really know what to do, so he said he'll deal with it when I wasn't near the branch. And then you're now looking at me like I'm an idiot, and everyone here today is realizing that they've really fucked up, and there's still no record of anything ever being done. And she's like, what, so you kept giving him money? which I think it's not, I can understand why if you were just hearing the story, you might ask that, but it wasn't just giving him money. It was like the threat of him either killing himself or hurting someone or dying or like something. It's so weird because I can't even like explain it in a way that would make sense. When you get into those toxic, codependent, almost, not even relationship, but it was just so toxic and everything was so intense and high alert, and like from mothers being dead to being alive to needing to do this to, you know, people coming after him. He also thought, I didn't mention this in the last one, but he also thought that there were a bunch of people coming after him to kill him. He was bragging that he had he had intentionally given the wrong address to a gang and then they went and shot up someone else's house. I was like, I don't get why that would happen. Like, I don't get why you would brag about that and why you would think that's even about you. Like, he just took some random news article being like, hey, they were trying to find me. And so it was like stuff like that where it was like he was in dangerous situations and like suffering with like not having money and like, you know, he was gonna kill himself and all of this stuff, and she just didn't understand it. And then obviously after the whole situation took place, I realized that he was on drugs the entire time, and that was the missing link. So I tried to explain this to her, you know, saying that he was like threatening suicide and obviously on drugs. And so she's like, but you gave him the money. Which it's like if I told you, hey, eat this food, and then afterwards was like, oh, it was poisoned, you ate it. Why did you eat it then? It was very like victim blamey. Like, I gave him the money under false pretenses because he was lying to me. Like, it was coercive. Like, it wasn't informed consent by any stretch of the imagination, and I was still stolen from. It's kind of like the whole like refund scams. They make you think that you need to give them money. He made me think that I needed to lend him this money. He made me think that it was coming back. It was always meant to come back. I wouldn't have given it to him if he told me it was never coming back, right? Like, that's the whole lie that makes it happen, and that's what makes it a scam. And she was so judgmental. And so she's like, all right, fine, I'll call the scam team. She was so like, she just seemed to really not want to help me. And I'm sitting there and I'm just watching her, and she calls and she the way that she explained it to the scam team, oh my god, it was. And then there was drugs, and then there was this, and then there was, and she just made it sound like high school gossip. And I'm sitting there looking at her and I'm like, of course the scam team is not going to be able to help me with this. I don't think she's called the right team. I think that they were meant to call the anti-money laundering team. Whether that is a thing or not, I don't know, but the first consultant seemed really promising, and he seemed like he was going to try his best, and he's like, I don't know if I'll be able to get it all back, but I might be able to get you something, because it looked like money laundering, right? And I'm not laundering money. Like, that's not what I'm doing. So then after the call, she's like, yeah, they can't help you because you gave it to him. I was like, under coercion and manipulation, sure. And then she says, that's probably why there's no note. And I said, and no one thought to tell me? She goes, yeah. And so I stood up, I walked out, I said nothing. I was nice to not say anything, because I could have said so many things in that moment, but instead I just politely got up and left. And then I opened a bank with a different company the next day. And I still have my Suncorp accounts open, but I do need to close them. I think there's like 1 cent in there. So like, they don't want to keep me. they're not like working to like keep me as a customer, and they're not going to be able to. I'm just so mad. I'm just so mad. I went to the police and they're like, you have to put in a small claims request to get it back, but that requires that I know where he lives, and last I heard he was just going hotel to hotel and stealing money. So it's very much giving Tinder swindler vibes, as I'm sure you're aware. And yeah.
Okay, so just as predicted, I did end up sounding like a whiny little bitch this entire video, and I know that it probably seems like, yeah, it is my fault that I got stolen from. However, here are some tips and tricks you can take away when dealing with the banks with situations like this, or any situation at all. Always ask for a reference number for your interaction, or email them and ask for a summary. I do this with customer service things. Like, when I work in customer service, I email people a summary of what was said, just so that they don't get their expectations skewed, and then ask for more information. Obviously they didn't do that, so what you can do is do the entire thing via email so that they can't hide from it being in writing, or ask for a reference number, or ask for it in writing. The only thing is that obviously in this instance I did ask for it in writing, and I did ask for an open line of written communication, and they didn't offer it, which I don't know what I'm supposed to do about that, or if that happens to you, I don't know what to do about that. You can also go to the Ombudsman in Australia for the financial sector. That's where you can put in a complaint above the bank. I couldn't be bothered. I am moving on from this whole situation. I am getting over it and just gonna move on. So yes, hopefully that helps make it not as bitchy and whiny, so you guys have something to take away from this video aside from the fact that I'm an idiot.
Just not a vibe. So the point is, don't bank with the big four. If you want a video on Commonwealth, which is just far more disgustingly bad, like actually shocking, like break the law level bad, if you want that video, let me know. Because I'm probably gonna make it anyways, but it'd be nice if people wanted it. Anyway, you will see me in the next video, which is one of these, whatever it's about, I'm not sure, you might love it. And then make sure you subscribe, okay? Bye!